All right, welcome. Welcome, everybody, to the October 15th Parks and Rec Trail Commission meeting, Forest Lake. Call the meeting to order. And first order of business is roll call.
Commissioner Eckert.
Here.
Commissioner Moorhead.
Here.
Commissioner Tyson.
Here.
Commissioner Herdina.
Here.
Take care of that.
If you're able, please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item is approve the agenda. Any changes to the agenda? Otherwise, look for a motion.
I'll motion.
Approve.
Karen, motion to approve.
I'll second.
Aaron, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Next item, open forum. Do we have any? Okay, no speakers. We'll move on from there.
No speakers, just visitors.
Welcome to the visitors. Next item is approve the minutes from our September 17th meeting. Any revisions or corrections? Otherwise, a motion to approve.
I'll motion to approve the.
Okay.
I'll second.
Aaron motion and Sue seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Amberley Woods Parkland dedication. Community Development Team.
Should have had this all set up. Sorry, guys. Wasn't quite prepared. Be a little better prepared next time.
No problem.
It's all good.
All right, Kyle, can you,
You should be popping up here.
okay,
You're good.
There we go.
all right. Oh, I forgot to update this from Chestnut Creek. There we go. So tonight before you, we are, your goal tonight is to make recommendation to the city council regarding the Amberley Woods preliminary plat. Ran through this last time. You're gonna see some very similar slides as the last time, but the applicable regulations before you is Minnesota statute 462358 allows for the city to request Parkland to be dedicated at the time of platting process. So this is only allowed during the subdivision process. And what that is essentially when you're adding more lots to the community, adding more people into the community, asking for Parkland to help offset that, you know, to help provide those resources and those public amenities for those future residents. The statute allows for you to require, or the city to accept land or cash or a combination thereof. City Code Section 152 kind of mirrors that and says we have the right to accept land dedication, but there needs to be some sort of essential nexus. We need to be able to make sure that what we're asking for is proportional to the development that's going on. And with residential densities, with residential neighborhoods, that's 10% of the land area. If it's a non-residential development, 5% of the land area. And mixed use is just based on those land use categories. So tonight before you is a preliminary plat for Amberley Woods. This is located off of Goodview Avenue, and I apologize, I didn't include a site location map. I think there was one in your packet, though. My presentation doesn't show that area. Just north of the intersection between County Road 50 and Goodview Avenue. The development is being proposed with 56 single-family detached homes. There's kind of like two halves to this development. The west half contains about 17 developable acres. That's where the concentration of the homes will be. And then there's about 20 acres on the east half of the property. That 17-acre development, 10% of the lot area would be 3.27 acres. In that 20-acre east half, the developer is proposing to dedicate to the city that land for parkland purposes. You already heard me mention that the 10% is 3.27 acres. A large portion of that east half, kind of where you see the kind of blobby shapes and the crosshatch, a significant amount of wetland area and wetland buffer area in that east half, but there is 6.27 of upland woodland acres. And so they are proposing a dedication of 6.21 acres of parkland where they're only required 3.27 acres. Again, this is one of those circumstances where the city options would be land or cash or a contribution of both. So when we're looking at land dedication, we have to look at what are our adopted ordinances and our long-range planning documents. Looking at the 2040 comprehensive plan, as shown to you last meeting, this is in the area of a search area for a new neighborhood park. Amberley Woods is kind of in between where the blue lines already exist. Those are existing sidewalk networks that would be extended through the neighborhood via the roadway system. So we can see already this is an area that we've been indicating that we'd like to get some sort of parkland in for the community. Looking at our existing half-mile service area, it is an area that is serviced within a 1/2 mile of other existing parks, but it is starting to get out of that 10-minute walk shed area. So we've identified this as an area that is in need of parkland per the city's draft plan. So the discussion for you tonight is making a recommendation to the City Council for a dedication, that dedication of land, cash, or a combination of both. Staff's recommendation is that we, the city, accept the parkland. And there's a couple different reasons that the city staff is recommending that. One is it will be a significant public amenity. Right now in Forest Lake, we don't have that many forested parks. This would be a very nice premier woodland park for the community. Additionally, the other thing to discuss tonight are just parkland needs. In our draft park plan that I think all of you have recently received, it does show that the city is at a deficit of about 20 miles of natural surface / hiking trails for our community, for our population. This woodland area would really help service that or help fulfill that unmet need. As I think I previously mentioned to you, this is an area where the city staff has been looking at the 4 corners of multiple properties. The option for Amberley Woods dedication is the hope that then we would be able to add to that as the other lands around that develop. Developers representative, Twin Cities Land Development, is here tonight if you have questions for them. Do you have any questions for me?
None at the
Members?
moment.
Okay.
I'm very happy with the recommendation because I'm a land person. I think it makes a lot of sense, but no questions really right now.
Okay.
Yeah, no question.
All right, any discussion on the staff recommendation?
Makes sense.
No questions or discussion, so we can make a motion.
I make a motion that we,
I think the motion is in the staff memo, Karen. That
see,
is,
my computer didn't talk to me at all, so I didn't print it.
that's why I'm here.
Okay. So what would you like the recommendation,
It'd be a motion to recommend the city council accept a land donation as proposed by the developer of the Amberley Woods preliminary plat. And Karen makes that motion.
so moved.
I'll second.
Aaron seconds. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Welcome. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, that was easy for
Thank
them.
you. Maybe we should just have 4 members all the time.
Make for some quick meetings.
All right. No, we missed our other members. Okay, Bayview Park Project, Dave.
Yep, good evening, Commissioners. As we talked about in previous meetings, Bayview Park is slated to be a 2026 park reconstruction project. It is included in the preliminary levy that was sent to Washington County. For it to be 100% funded for 2026 will require the levy to be passed in December, but in the meantime, with positive feelings from the commission and council, staff would like to start trying to lay out this park and get that design process going to try to get that park designed, bid, and built and done by the end of next year. So this is kind of the first time we'll go through this, but every park that we'll kind of run into, which maybe your bigger parks like a big community park may be more of a master plan, but these neighborhood parks are a smaller size. We'll try to follow our master plan. We'll try to see what's there, look at deficiencies, and then whatever, whether it's community involvement or commission or staff recommend, staff will then put that together, design, bring it back for commission to look at, and then we go into a final design process, get that recommended by the commission, approved by the council, and go out for bid. So that's kind of the steps in this. So we're at the 30,000 foot view part of where we're at for this planning process. $450,000 is what's in the budget for the reconstruction project for Bayview Park. It's about 8.85 acres. There's two parcels of land that are combined to make Bayview Park. So just to put that in mind, Belts is about 3 acres. This is, less than an acre, so it's a lot smaller in size. I've copied some pictures on that. I'm sure you've probably driven by and seen it, and I've taken a bunch of pictures of that as well. Right now at that park is a wood mulch playground with 5-year to 12-year-old equipment, a swing set, a half basketball court, leave 2 benches, a picnic table, parking lot with 5 stalls in it, a portable restroom enclosure for a restroom, a bike rack, and then an 8-foot path that winds kind of between 15th and that neighborhood to the east. I've kind of taken some of those pictures that are attached to that memo as well. So at this stage, we have a number of considerations. Staff is looking feedback from the commission. This will be helpful, and myself, Kyle, and Public Works to try to put together a concept design of what we're looking at to put in this new project. So unless you want to go in a different order, I'd like to just kind of go 1 through 8, I believe, and then try to get some feedback from the commission, and then we'll go from there.
All right, sounds good, Dave. Thank you.
So number 1 on this consideration for Bayview Park is what level of community input should be gathered. Are we looking for surveys, open houses, engage in specific user groups, or is it something that we follow what we have there and just update it? That's also an option if we don't want to go down that path of open houses and all that as well. So looking for feedback there. If we're starting early enough in the process where any one of them are possible, it just, there's cost and time that goes with everything, which I'm not saying is good or bad. It just, I want to get that feedback of how much we value feedback from specific people, an open house, online survey, any of those kind of things. What does the commission think about that?
Karen?
I prefer to have some input from the users. I think in all of our parks, we've just put them in with what we think, but neighborhoods change, people grow. And so at Belts, we had the neighborhood party right at Belts Park, and the neighbors all around were invited to come to Belts Park. That's many years ago, but it seemed to work out that people were interested in coming right to the park. They can visualize and let know. I feel there's value in that, but how you do it, I'm not saying for sure.
Aaron?
I think anytime constituents can have a say or give their opinion of what they think should go there, helps with the overall feeling and opinion of the community towards the project.
Maybe just in the form of a community gathering up here. Announce it online or however you do that and
So an in-person open house.
get direct input from those that would be interested,
'Cause
maybe?
The one thing is, would it push back the planning process to be able to begin earlier in 2026 potentially? Because like Belts Park is amazing, but now we're coming at, I mean, for its first year, the season is gonna kind of limit its use, you know, with its opening. So would we be like, what kind of timeline would we be looking at getting the project completed?
I think we'll try to follow that timeline like more or less like Manor, where we try to keep that park open for that summer. You try to time construction to happen Labor Day, get reconstructed, and then end by winter. So then next spring, it's open as a brand new park. Yes, you don't
Okay.
get the opening thing that time of year, but I think you get the use out of that park during that summer. Once the kids go back to school, then you can tear it down. Gives time for the contractor to procure all the equipment, get everything all ready to go, and then you set them a construction date of like September 1st to October 31st, where that just can get ripped out and reinstalled.
So community engagement, would it delay anything?
No, so in that project timeline, I have it from now until January is kind of, consider this the kickoff till January. By January, we'd want to really have planning, scoping, and community input.
So I think you're hearing, Dave, get some community input, but not necessarily prescribe the exact way you get it.
That's fine. I'm sure they'll come up with a great idea. But did whatever happened to the information? I wasn't the one that was assigned to Bayview Park, but we did all of that investigating, find out what equipment, what playground equipment was there, what was needed, what was broken, whatever.
That's located in the appendix, part of the draft master plan of
Okay.
all the studies that were done on the,
On all the
on all the
individual-
parks. So that information is there.
It's written in the memo as well. The 22 draft master plan said the potential improvements include expanding or resurfacing the basketball court, adding a volleyball court, and incorporating amenities geared towards teens. Those are the 3 comments for that.
They've never stopped calling it the Green Park, so we could maybe start there, paint.
My kids call it the Green
Oh, everybody calls it the Green Park.
Really?
And it's used by the houses behind it more,
Yeah.
coming through the path. And so that particular development, I think, would be a good one to rally and find out what they think.
We kind of ran out of time this year, and Kyle came up with that great idea of those poster boards that say exciting things are coming, and then that QR code at these parks. The hope is that our 2027 plan for whatever park is on that list, that we put up a poster board right there with a QR code, so people who use that park for a full year can conduct a survey, right? You know, that they can do that QR code, it'll be a survey. You come to this park often, what do you wish was here? Then that would basically do our community engagement all year long, and we wouldn't be sitting here asking this question. You know, Kyle would be able to say, 400 people hit that QR code and asked and said, we need this, we need this, we need this.
I would love to believe there'd be 200 people, but 400 would be out. Kyle and I have talked, but again, there's a certain segment of the population that uses QR codes and a certain that doesn't. So I would hate to be, that would be the only way that we're going to allow people to have a say.
The people that are gonna use it are gonna know how to use the QR codes.
Well, maybe they will, maybe they won't, but, you know,
So some type of
just-
community engagement, would you prefer an open house? Would you prefer like a mailer that goes out 500-foot radius of that park and tell people we'll have our open house, you know, prior to a workshop here, or a meeting, or some other day of the week? Or would you just rather have a survey, Kyle create a survey of what would you like to see here, sent out to that same kind of mailing list? An online survey too, you can do that in tandem, or you could put it out on the website. Jolene could post a Facebook blast saying, please take the survey, a mix of everything.
So you already have an idea of what you want to do there, right? In general.
In general, it's not like a a summer field where we have 6 acres of green space where there's a lot of discussion. I mean, I'm assuming we're gonna want a playground. We're gonna wanna include something for 2 to 5-year-olds, because it's lacking there. The biggest question be, do we want another basketball court because there's 2 brand-new ones now at Belts, and
No.
replace that with something for teens? What kind of surfacing do we want on the playgrounds? Is that parking lot with 5 stalls a waste, or do we want it bigger? The volleyball court got brought up here. That was a discussion. We talked about Belts. Do you put the volleyball carts over there? I mean, those are those kind of, I think 30,000-foot view is, we have a pretty good idea, but it's those things you plug in. We'll kind of come, as we walk down this list too, is, I think that's the feedback that I believe Karen is looking for, is people that are gonna use it. Is a volleyball court here a stupid idea? 99% of
Yeah.
people think that's a horrible idea. Or we think about getting rid of a basketball court, and 100 people surveyed says, I love the basketball court, I wish it was just resurfaced. I mean, that, it might help some of our questions get answered as well.
And that is what I was thinking. And again, the sand volleyball, I thought the commission had already given their opinion that it belongs at Belts where it was, and it's well-used and it's well-seen. So I don't know if that would be on the list again.
It was just listed as a deficiency for this park. It was mentioned in the park plan that it should have a volleyball court. I just was taking what they put in and put in those
And-
comments from the Task Parks Commission.
By
So do you-
national standards too, we have a deficit of 5 sand volleyball courts for the city. So I mean, it's one of those things where, yeah, you might have more than one just at Belts, right? It's a situation here where you have the national benchmarks laid out for us. So that's, again, to Dave's point, that's why we want to make sure we're putting these types of details in, because, yeah, you might think Belts is a great spot for sand volleyball, but if you had 100 people in that neighborhood that say we'd love to have a volleyball court there, well, that gets your, questions answered. So those are the details we want to plug away at.
Well, and again, it's confusing to me because if we ask them if they want to sand volleyball, then that's great. They want it, we put it, but we've forgotten about all the other people that we aren't surveying about Belts Park. So you're not saying one or the other, you're saying both.
I don't think we said we're gonna take any away from Belts. We would be saying we adding, because we're
Okay.
Yeah.
deficient 5 already within the city.
Okay,
So the issue here at hand then is,
But Belts Park, we said we were gonna track attendance this winter.
that's for the.
Yeah, we put that all on hold.
let's
to
stay
kinda revisit
focused on this agenda item.
Yeah.
So, Dave, this isn't the first park we're gonna be dealing with. I think you should have a standard procedure of what you're gonna do every time a new park comes up, so we don't have to have this discussion. And it's pretty clear that we should have community engagement every time we start a new park. Is it an open house? Is it mail out 500 feet? I think you can come up with what you think is gonna be the most effective, and just make that the standard for all future parks.
Yeah, and the size of the park makes a difference too. You could get a lot of feedback and they want all kinds of stuff, but the size may not allow it, so.
Correct.
Small park like this too, it's people that are walking there that are using it, so to think that you have to do a 2-mile radius or something, that doesn't, or citywide necessarily isn't. But,
Would it be helpful to just have that in, what do you call them, the neighborhood, be the ones that would be getting the survey, and then people that you think walk up and might want to use that code? Or, so you have a little bit of both. You have some that will look at the code, and some that would get an invitation to an hour before a meeting or something.
Yep, I think the QR codes would be great going forward. It's just we don't have that time or that to grab, but I think that will be the standard in the future. We'll have a pretty good idea of what we're doing the upcoming year. That'll be something posted there of, hey, this is slated to be redone in name your year, provide your thoughts. And that'll get a lot of community input, and know your users too. You're gonna get some demographics off them and know where they're coming from, what they're using, what they wish they had.
and you can put a QR code in the city newsletter that goes out, and
Yep.
you could put it in the lobby out here at City Hall. People visit City Hall, and
Yep.
so.
We'll work through that. We'll work through the rest of these, and some of these things that we go through might answer some of these questions of how much community involvement we want to
Okay.
do as well. Second one is accessibility and inclusivity. Are we on the mindset that we want everything on that park to be ADA compliant? Or are we looking for portions of it to be ADA compliant. Like Belts has a swing and a couple parts in the playground that's ADA compliant. They can make ones that are completely ADA compliant, or there is no rule that you have to have every park ADA compliant. So I guess the option is all, partial, or none. Right now, Bayview is completely non-compliant.
Partial?
Partial.
Partial would be nice.
Some type of amenities.
Hybrid,
for-
yes.
No?
Something included, yes.
So 3 has a couple of bullet points, park amenities, just evaluating the current amenities, the playground equipment, playground installed in 2001, geared to 5 to 12-year-old age group, wood mulch resurfacing. Would you like to see all ages covered, including teens, in that one container? Would you like a separate teen area, or would you like to stick with the Belts kind of model where you have a section for 2 to 5-year-olds and then a section for 5 to 12?
I like the Belts model, personally.
Yeah,
Especially if you've got kids and you're there and you got some bigger kids running around and you got the smaller kids, it's nice to be able to keep that separate.
We had a bunch of playgrounds, like Manor didn't have swing sets. This one did have a bank of swing sets. I'm assuming we want to keep that amenity in there of some type of a swing set.
Swing sets are very important.
Yep.
As far as the basketball court is an option to look into, something like sport court, because you wouldn't have to refinish. Probably save some costs there by just buying some sport court, putting it down on the asphalt slab.
Yeah, the problem with that asphalt, it's probably past its prime too, that we'd probably have to redo it. I mean, you could look at surfacing like they did at Belts. You pave it and then you surface it where it stayed up.
So keep walking through your points there, Dave, and
Sorry, I tangented my own self. Right now, there's wood mulch resurfacing. Staff highly recommends that we do not go to wood mulch. We either do rubber mulch or plate and pour surfacing. The plate and pour and place surfacing, the tricky part to that is of Belts Park, that was over half the cost of that playground. It was more than the actual playground to put that surfacing in. So if your cost is $450,000, you'd probably be looking at well over $200,000 just to get poured in place surfacing. It's a great feature, but it will really destroy your budget on that one model.
So you're suggesting rubber over
rubber
wood?
mulch?
Rubber mulch,
The rubber's been fine at Bridle Pass where we go to all the time. in our community.
staff has been slowly getting rid of the wood mulch to put in rubber. You don't have to maintain it every 2 to 5 years and add more mulch. You don't have the weeds coming through it. You don't.
Kids love throwing it.
You don't have, I mean, it is playground compliant, but, people still stick them in themselves, and it's that kind of thing. There was 5-10 years ago, was there a big thing about rubber mulch, that it was carcinogenic. That was proven to be wrong. This stuff has been tested. It's, Manor, that used to be wood chips, the one we're redoing this year. We actually are putting recycled or pre-used rubber mulch, so we got it for about half the price. Plus then you don't have the black wearing off on kids' clothes and that horrible smell, it's still fine.
Good idea.
So would that be a recommendation to look towards rubber mulch then? It's a little bit more expensive than the wood mulch, but long-term, it'd be a 25-year purchase for that. It would last the length of that. Right now, the border is plastic border. I wouldn't have an issue with retaining the plastic border except for along the blacktop trail, that we either curb that or did some type of a sidewalk on there. That stuff gets dinged up by the snow plows and just wear and tear, but I think the plastic border, you'd save your cost on that versus putting a concrete ribbon. Belts looks fantastic, but it's another one of those big expenses you could probably put into, the amenities.
You're saying plastic would still be okay with the problems that it does maybe have?
Yeah, as long as that's not where your foot traffic is, right? Everybody's coming off the trail and that's what gets dinged up and cracked, and then to try to replace that when it's boarded up against the trail is just a nightmare. You're gonna be cutting into the trail to try to fix the plastic, and if you walk through Bayview, those are the only ones that are all chewed up. So maybe a portion of that would be a ribbon curb or something just to protect that blacktop.
Fine with me.
Okay, picnic shelters and seating. So right now, there's just a floating picnic table. By that I mean it's not anchored down, it just, people move it around. Sometimes it's in the playground, sometimes it's in the grass, just kind of wherever it ends up. And then there's 2 benches that are permanently mounted in the ground. Would we be looking at having some type of a gazebo or a picnic shelter out there? Are we fine with a floating picnic table or one that's mounted on a slab? Additional seating around the playground, like Belts, I believe, has 5. There's 5 around there. There's 2 enough, like Cedar, I believe, has 2 or 3 as well. I mean,
Remind me of this side, on the one side, isn't there a shelter from the trees?
Nope.
Over in that, there's no sun shelter there at
No.
all?
there's, Public Works tore down all those dead pine trees about 5 years ago, and there's like 10 new maple trees that are planted there and some crab apples, but that's kind of gonna be the only shade you have, and that won't be for another 10 years or so.
How much is a shelter just on a table, a table with the umbrella kind of shelter?
It ranges, that's kind of, I mean, you can buy picnic tables that have the canopy shelters over them, kind of like Lakeside that have those bench areas, or a picnic table on that, open air ones. You can get gazebo style like Cedar Park where it's 4 pillars and a metal shed over top. Belts has that too, that one's a smaller size one. Do you have a
it's nice.
preference one or the other, a seating area? And I know there's a lot of kids and families there, it might be something that and for Kyle, he does these reservations, right? So then somebody could book it for a birthday party and reserve the gazebo spot.
The shelter's
Did-
nice when you have like
Yeah.
infants and stuff and you wanna have them out of the sun.
Dave, to be honest, it feels a little awkward to talk about what we want out there before we've done this, getting input from residents out there. Under the heading of, we could sit here and tell you a lot of things we want, and then we go out and get public input, and it's 180 degrees from what we're saying tonight.
Would that be a
Well,
suggestion for them to think about, though?
You could do, kind of a draft plan and then edit, that as your input comes in,
That's more what we're thinking of, to get your feedback, to have that, so when we have this open house or survey, is to kind of get a general idea as the Parks Commission staff are kind of looking at doing this for the reconstruction.
So under the head, if we were gonna do a draft plan and then get input, then I get that then.
Yep, I think that community survey or whatever would be after we get this input, we kind of plug this in, and then we say, here's
Okay.
what we're thinking about doing, what do you think? Because I think if you have an open house of what do you think, you're gonna get
yeah.
5 million things of what should be done. I think we
Right.
should try to narrow down their,
Direct the conversation.
correct, narrow down, here's a few decisions, we don't, wanna, the sky's not the limit here, otherwise it's gonna be out of control. So possible picnic shelter or a combination of something over picnic tables, that, something included in there.
Something budget friendly.
I'm assuming we're fine with just a portable restroom there, we don't wanna have a full-service bathroom or anything that there, it's just a daytime neighborhood park,
No.
correct?
Portable.
Do we need to provide one?
We don't need to, we have, I think all of our playgrounds that we have a portable at it. Now that I'm thinking off the top of my head, I think every single one, except for maybe Eagle Bluff. Eagle Bluff doesn't have one. About
I
over
think
13, 12. of
Pretty
them.
important for children who are
For the-
being trained in,
Yeah.
I think, but I don't like them, but I think it's, as a mother and a grandmother, I'd certainly want to be able to have a
Yeah.
place. What do you think, a mother? But I think the next one, I'll let you go for this one until you're done.
Well, you-
The next one in the parking lot.
Yeah. It just seems like a porta potties in an urban area it's kinda cheesy.
I think that's a good thing to bring up when we have that open house, right? You
Okay.
see
Yeah.
a need for one. If you overwhelmingly, everybody that surveys or shows up and says, yeah, we need a bathroom there, answer
Yeah.
the question. If
I passed along that when I talked to a mom out there, she said that it's mostly used by contractors that are driving through the area.
Oh,
See how nice.
It's right along the road there. So I just think it's a poor image to have a porta potty out in the baseball fields out in Coolant Camp or way out there, but There's houses right next door to this thing.
Then there's houses
Right.
way down the road too.
What's that?
There's houses way down the road too. Unless we get the lady who lives close to let us use the bathroom, that'd be great.
So,
This one with trails and walking paths, we kind of probably answer our own question. There's a sidewalk along one of the roads and the trail that winds through it to connect. I don't see any expansion of that. That's kind of keep that same
Yeah.
mentality there. I don't foresee anybody else asking for additional stuff of that. Here we are with the sports courts in the field. So court, right now Kern has a half basketball court. I think that'll be a good part for the open house. Do you want a half basketball court? What would you like to see there as some type of a athletic amenity? Or sand volleyball court in its place or something like that?
Did we ever put a partition because we had some complaints, the neighbor, the balls from the
No,
basketball?
we had offered that resident that we would pay for screening if they wanted to put it on their property, and they
They didn't
declined
want
it.
to.
Yep.
Okay. Did we pass the parking lot? No.
Nope. I think we'll leave that sport court kind of open-ended. I think there's, regardless, you'd want to improve what's there if we keep it, but that would be a good survey question for the community or the open house. Water features, that's just one of these bullet prints. I don't think this place is a good place for a water feature.
No.
It's-
No.
You need more space for that and parking and all that stuff, so I think that's probably just gonna cross itself out for the size of this park. Shade structures, landscaping, we have the 10 newer trees. There's no structures on the equipment. Typically now, even with belts, we try to put shade structures on there unless it's a heavily wooded place. It's like the number one thing playground, even manufacturers tell you to put shade structures on top. Just skin cancer and all that stuff where parents don't want their kids out in the sun, so I think that would just be implemented with the playground. Irrigation, right now, there is none. You could maybe make an argument for it if you're putting one in an urban development where every house is mandated by the HOA to have irrigation, that you might want to have irrigation, but this park does not have irrigation, and it's just another expense and another thing to go wrong. We can always throw that out on the survey, but I don't think staff would recommend irrigating that as well. Parking lot, feedback here would be great. I think that'll be a good open house too. Are you guys proponents of having that parking lot? I get comments from, just like how he said, contractor use the bathrooms. 9 times out of 10 you drive by, it's contractors that are parked in there, so I don't know if it's neighborhood park is a waste of a parking lot.
I would say driving by that as often as I do, I see rarely anybody parking there, much contractors or people. And I do, again, think it's the people that live there that walk there. So I would,
My kids were little, we used to drive there and park there.
I don't think it has to be expanded though, do you think? Or,
It's
I
that
mean,
thing
could
away
you do
already. If you
something
don't have that
similar
parking
to-
lot there, that's a big chunk of green space. You could
Yeah.
add something there.
Right, could you do something similar to what you did with Belts Park, where you had the parking on the road?
That's a tough spot for road.
Well, I mean, if you push into where the parking lot is now with the parking spots, and then you don't need the full parking lot, you only need a couple slots, it's not a big park.
it's that curve that makes a problem.
So leave that one kind of for some feedback from open house and
Yeah, I
surveys.
think that's,
You're not either one way or the other on that one. Park court lighting, right now there is no lighting, it's just street lighting. You don't really have a policy or a thing of doing, Lakeside Park has your path lighting through there. None of the other of our parks really have lighting in there. It's one of those things, you go down that road, you start lighting parks, and all of a sudden you're gonna be paying to light all the parks. Amenities like belts with the sport courts to have lights directly for that. But
I don't think small,
It's in a neighborhood, so I don't know if people would want lights on.
it's a daytime park to me.
yeah.
we'll be talking about that in policies upcoming too, where if our park policies at the park close at 10 PM, do you really want to invite people to be walking around there in the dark anyway?
Yeah.
Maintenance and operations, we kind of touched on that for the rubber mulch. every playground that we're gonna wanna buy is gonna be durable, long-term, 25-year. I don't think this one really needs to touch into that too much. Connectivity, this one's not gonna, there's nowhere to connect to. We have the path going through and we're connecting to those blocks. Need to bring this one up. If anybody has any historical, and this might come out of the survey too, of why this park was here, who built this park, or if somebody dedicated this park, that we make sure we don't forget about that. Just like Manor Park had that granite slab in there that was, land was dedicated by so-and-so, we're gonna keep that monument there, so. That's a hope.
Bayview Inn, wasn't
It
that?
used to be the bar.
Bayview Inn, yeah.
Yep.
You went from drinking to playing.
But I think for this council, or this commission, if anybody knows that, and that'll be for the open house too, or survey, is there a historical value to this that we need to mention something there, so we're not forgetting something?
Yeah, I don't think there's much in that vein.
Check it out. Not maybe much you want to put in.
Farmland and the bar, that's about it.
We don't want to go into the bar too deeply.
And this one's a smaller parks. I don't envision a lot of parks and programming going through here, but that would be another thing that, as we got to a bigger park, or you know, to make sure we're mindful of that, of something we could have out here or something. But I think this one's just more of a neighborhood park.
We can have
That was those 8, that proposed project timeline, October through January, is we want to kind of put everything together. Myself and Kyle got a pretty good list here, is kind of what we're going to put together as a concept of what we want to do, the improvements that we're going to make, suggestions by staff and the commission, and then schedule some type of an open house / survey. We'll bring that back to you probably, hopefully November, to get your feedback on that. Hey, does it sound like it's a good idea if we do this middle of December or something like that for an open house? Or Kyle might have an idea for, here's a 10 questions survey that we'll send out to people within 500 feet. Get that approval, then move on. So
If we
Try
could
to
do
get
it
that up.
closer to the first part of December, because you get into a real
Yep.
mass of things, but the first part. And I was going back to that irrigation, and you were saying it could be something on the survey. I think we have to be careful if we're saying that isn't going to be irrigated and it shouldn't be. We wouldn't want to even put that on, because somebody might think a drink of water down there somehow. I don't know. If we are really serious, we don't want to have irrigation there, I would rather not bring it up. And have them.
And I think some of the stuff we're not gonna bring up, right? If
Okay.
the staff doesn't recommend it and neither does the commission, then it
Okay.
doesn't become part of that survey. Hey,
Right.
would you
Okay.
like to get this irrigated? I don't think anybody in this room wants it irrigated, so it
No.
would just be something, that's not one of your options to consider here. It's, consider these kind of things. That hope would be to get that open house and then to dial in that, everything by January. And the month of February, Kyle and myself to get prices and to actually design it, to kind of give you an idea what it's gonna look like. And hopefully put it out for bid. March, April, award the contract at the end of April, and then let them procure their equipment and get everything ready, and then that would be that September through October would be the build. Sound like a good plan?
Like a good plan.
Great plan, Dave, thank you.
If that's all I have, we'll get working on that.
Thank you.
All right, moving on, next one, staff report on park policies, Kyle. Looks like you've been busy, Kyle.
Try to stay busy, right? Just want to also mention, so Cindy is here with, from FLA, but just sitting in the meeting. It's kind of skipping ahead a little bit to a staff update too, but this policy, we've talked at past meetings about, is really tied around how we handle this agreement that we've had with FLA in the past, right, moving forward. We have to have these policies in place in general, but then, you know, users like FLA can just see what is our general policy, what does that mean for fees that they'll pay, versus saying, we're gonna have an individual agreement with each group that uses our parks, right? And we don't have that classification or policy in place. So this is just introduction to a classification. Don't pay too much attention to the fee schedule. While that's based off of current fees, it's not necessarily anything that we've put any final hammering into, but it just gives you the idea of what you're really looking at, what does the classifications mean, and you can kind of see how it relates to the fee schedule. You are gonna have your lower classified groups pay a lesser amount, and that's pretty typical when it goes into athletic complexes, whether it's ice arena, fields, right? You're gonna have different usage groups ranked depending on where they fall. So this is, I would say, next to, finished. We will probably take some more looks. We've been looking into other city use policies and classifications as well. But it's pretty much what we are recommending. And really, it's just in front of you to hopefully read through, have read through it, and just if there's anything you feel like we've missed or need clarification on before we bring a final policy for this commission to recommend council adopt. That's what we want to discuss here tonight.
What's the difference between a Class 2 and a Class 3 nonprofit, youth and adult community service recreation groups?
So I believe there might be a, let's see here, because you're looking at the nonprofit, youth and adult community service groups with the majority, and then it's repeated down with the majority. There's just gonna be, we gotta reword that, change that up a little bit, but it's gonna be just different types of groups. So you're gonna have, like your FLAWs, your athletic groups, and then you might have different nonprofit organizations that come in. But really, the biggest highlight is to say your Class 2 is gonna be your majority, and probably your more recreation-based. And then you get into more, non-recreation based, but still hold a nonprofit, lake associations. It won't be, for athletic fields, won't be super common, but you wanna have a little decipher there.
Going back up, and since Cindy's here, is there anything that FLA has been involved with that they would like to share with the commission, or have things been going pretty smoothly? I don't know.
We'll do for staff update. We'll kind of talk, we'll highlight about conversations with FLA.
Okay.
With this policy specific, FLA hasn't really necessarily been involved with it. Staff's thinking about FLA in a policy like this, obviously, just because where they land, but they haven't necessarily been involved. But we'll get into that in staff updates with our negotiation conversations with FLA and how they fit into this agreement. We can certainly highlight.
Okay.
Any other comments?
So what I'm seeing is Class 2 is nonprofit, youth groups, adult groups, just general organized groups, and then Class 3 is more of nonprofit, but sports-related activities and things like that. Does that kind of really differentiate the two, or?
The sports would be in the Class 2, and then the other groups would be more Class 3.
Okay.
You're not looking for action on this tonight?
No, just feedback, yep, just feedback and clarification. So like Class 2 and 3 clarification, we'll include that. And these policies aren't gonna necessarily spell out every group that you're gonna see, right? You're gonna have a group come in and you're just gonna have to best fit them in this schedule. So like you use some examples, for instance, like high school boosters, typically they're not gonna be in the same classification as like the actual nonprofit recreation groups, just because they don't fit within that mold and stuff like that. So you're not gonna necessarily list out every single potential group, but you're just gonna be able to place that group within the schedule. Something to kind of look into too, it's noted in there where there's a fine line, right, where a group is Class 2, but then if they're doing certain things with the complex, fundraising or charging admission, stuff like that, that can knock them down to a higher class, which in turn, obviously, they get a higher charge for those things. You know, for an instance, like FLA, their user groups are gonna be Class 2. FLA's charging for concessions out there, however, that's a separate agreement that the city has, so that's not gonna affect their classification for field use per se. So just, there's some nuances in there, but we're trying to note as much to make sure we're covered on our bases, so it's a very clear, this is what the policy says. So certainly if you have any feedback that comes up, like I said, it's likely that we'll come back in November and ask for a final recommendation. Just want to give it some time and make sure it sits and revisit a couple times, so.
Right.
Okay, thank you, Kyle. You want to roll into your last item, park signage?
So, again, and within the report, we're looking to, part of the master plan, I think even 2014 touches on just better park signage. We have, you know, several ideas of what we want to do, but we also want to bring forth some of those ideas and get some feedback. It's kind of learned my lesson about the cooling camp, right? We think it's a great, put a portable in a spot and all of a sudden you have a resident come in and say, hey, why is that portable there? So that's what we want to just try to be mindful of, is talking to you guys about, here's some of our ideas that we have, and certainly staff is going to have a, you know, heavy weigh in that, but we also want to get your feedback. Really what the goal is just to kind of, you know, Don kind of hinted to this, have a standard, right? Have a practice that we all agree on and know of, that every park, this is how we're going to have signage. And there's a lot of different options for signage, right? You can have floating signs on chain link, you can have signs on U-channel posts, or you can have a dedicated space for park rules, you know, activities going on in the park, so on and so forth. I tried to use some examples of what we have, and then even just in the past, what previous staff had been working on for park signs. Staff, myself, feels like we maybe want to stay away from like the U-channel posts that just are floating around. There's sign ordinance involved there, and then that's a safety thing. It's for maintenance working around, et cetera. It's a target, it seems like, for graffiti or getting pushed over or just something silly. So you can see in a couple photos here, we have like display boards. One of those, the bottom one, is at Fenway, and then there's a one in the middle that's at like Lakeside. Personally, I think that's a nice look. It's a place for us to even do our own park advertisement, arts in the park or facility rentals, but just kind of coming up with a standard. Those top pictures are signboards in every park that that display what the park is, park name, you know, identifies that park. So there's maybe some thought on, do we have one side be a park sign, and then the back side put a display board there? And then you just want that consistency, right? So when people go to the parks, they know they can go to that display board and get consistent information. What are the rules? Each park might have, you know, Lakeside's gonna have probably more policy or rules in place, right, than say a Manor Park. You're gonna have total different use going on. So just getting some consistency. So just again, looking for some feedback. Any thoughts that you guys have written down or from reading the report?
I like the fact that it wasn't, I don't know when, because I don't know years, but we did go with the Bridle Pass Park look, so that we could have the same look in each park. And I would still like to maintain that. People are used to it, but I love your idea of having some kind of a back of the board where you can put you can change it. You know, this is not going to be changed, but you could change things on the back to let people know what's happening. And if that, I don't know what that costs, but I just like the idea when you said that.
Well, I mean, you look at that Bridle Pass, the side facing the road, you have the Bridle Pass Park, and on the back side, as people are leaving,
Yeah.
you have your shadow box that has your rules and whatever notifications you guys want to put out there, or QR codes or whatever you're going to post.
Yeah, I think we added one to Fenway, and Don can maybe speak a little bit to this. It just, while, we had some, minimal information out there, I think people appreciated just what was out there in those displays.
No, absolutely. Those, they're very professional looking and, like you say, out of the weather, and I think I think so far you're hearing that's a look that looks great, and I don't think anybody up here would argue against not trying to come up with a consistent branding for the
Right.
parks.
Is it way out of line to think, I was thinking of the school and what they do and what they make and how we were gonna use them for other things. We really haven't used them. Would a display board be something that they could make? So,
Yeah, you're probably looking for a weatherproof, and that, there's probably some difficulties. Certainly, it's something that we can ask, just to open that door to see, but,
got the 3D printers, they can do an awful lot of stuff down.
yeah.
A simple ask, maybe it won't work. I agree, it probably
Well,
won't, but
plus
it's a good
glass
idea to
is
save money.
breakable. Maybe there's a
Give them
material
credit.
that's not so breakable that can be,
Yeah, these outdoor, I think the display boards come from like Uline, right? They're weatherproof,
Right.
they're meant for outdoor, they're gonna check their boxes. Acrylic glass, so either, again, it's a door we can open and just see, just to say we checked that box, and certainly wouldn't hurt. But then just, the consistency, right, where we can order X amount of displays at X price, and they're all gonna be consistent, so. So it just sounds like the commission feels like maybe looking into the display boards and versus, again, putting U-channel posts with, like at Belts Park, right? We wanna say no bikes on the courts, but how do we do that? What's the best way to do that? There's going to be some, instances, like for instance, Belts Park, there's court lights, there's a button. We're gonna end up putting a display sign above that explains to people, push the button and whatever, but just for the most part, having a consistent display board idea is what we're looking for.
Okay. Yep, Karen.
Would this be a good time to bring up the bike sign at Belts? Because I've been up there a couple of times, you've been up there a couple of times, and I deputized some kids. I don't know if I had the power to do that, but they were so sweet about understanding. We didn't know that. We're so sorry. We didn't know there was no bikes. And they were just very, very nice kids. And I said, I can't be up here all the time, so maybe you could be like deputies and explain to people that there will be a sign, because that certainly is necessary. Otherwise, how do we expect kids to know? That's what they said. We didn't see any sign. I said, perfectly fine. I understand that. Why would you know? And so a bike rack, and maybe a sign for now, and then a bike rack for a good bike rack, so that they use it. I don't know.
Yeah. Because the teenagers aren't so nice.
Yeah, you ran
You're
into
not
teen-
deputizing them,
These 6, 7-year-olds were so cute. They were really.
you're deputy to handle them.
But I do think, before we ruin the surface and then wish we had done it, I don't care if it's a professional sign or if someone just writes it on a pegboard for now. Because how would they know they're not supposed to have their bikes on that fabric?
It's in the park itself or on the courts?
No.
In the playground?
In the park, in the playground.
Gotcha.
And then they spin and they put their
Kickstands
kickstand down,
oh, yeah.
and
On that expensive ground.
they don't realize that, the ones, Doesn't have to be fancy, but it'd be something to point to.
Can't have anything nice. Never can have
Gonna be a
anything nice.
problem no matter what. It's
Well,
just,
it might be a problem, but then we can at least point to it.
no, it's just, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not just that, it's the potential injury. Like when I was there was 2 teenager kids on bikes, and they were literally riding through the play structure. And it's like, you got little kids here, guys. You guys can't do this. You're gonna hit somebody and hurt somebody.
Noted.
Okay, all
Thank
right,
you.
staff's got that on their plate. All right, staff updates.
Do you want me to do my list? So just farmer's market, just circling back, we're currently working on some details. We've talked with Rotary. It sounds like there's some interest in some sort of partnership with that, so that's ongoing, right? That's gonna be probably another few months of back and forth and finalizing details, but just to report back that we are currently working on it and moving forward with it. Part of my update does include the FLA agreement, so our last meeting, we kind of talked to the commission to ixnay that agreement and just go to this use policy. From meeting with FLA, and again, Cindy's here that can speak to that for herself, and maybe if you don't mind stepping up and giving some feedback, but in our opinion and talking with FLA, everything went really well during that conversation. It seemed very well received. Of course, that was with the FLA board members. Certainly they've been communicating that out, I believe, to their groups. I don't know if you have anything that you want to share with us?
Not especially, no.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll get some, feedback, maybe not super positive because it is gonna be more expensive, but they're in their budget planning right now, and so they can account for that in their,
So, Mr. Chair, would it be possible to say that right now it's, the city and FLA are working very well together? Is there anything that we should have brought up? I mean, because that's always been, the highlight. And we want to make sure that that connection with FLA and the city is a good one. Certainly helps everybody.
yeah, I think it's fine right now.
You might want to just step up, just,
She's trying not to have.
I know.
was totally avoiding this.
It's on record.
Yeah, I think, just with working with Paul, and was Myron at that meeting? I can't
Yep.
remember. And I think the agreement that we have, obviously, like I said, it's gonna be a little bit more, and that'll be on the sports to figure that piece out. But it's a weight off of our shoulders, trying to, make Greg organize who's going out there, and, him or Paul if they can't. So it's a weight off of us, and then not having to maintain all the equipment, which can be a big cost too. So we've been talking about that, and I think there's gonna be a walkthrough sometime before the snow flies, with FLA and the city out there, just looking at what's out there and what needs repair, or any future plans for the year.
I think it's good for this commission to know too, so I think for the most part, Fenway, the pavilion there, the building had been maintained by FLA, and just kind of they've solely were taking care of things by themselves, but this year the city did put, what was it, about $1,000+ into fixing things like the dividers in the bathrooms and stuff like that, so it's been more of moving into that. We're out there, it's our structure, we're out there helping, we have a good relationship with FLA in that sense. It's also, like, Cindy mentioned, there is an increase in price by the city. However, obviously, we're providing more services out there. And like Cindy mentioned, it's a relief off of FLA, and as the facility managers to take on more of that role. So, but yeah, anything else you have to share?
I don't think so.
So we're not,
Thanks, Cindy.
We're good.
we're not losing any teams or anything? I mean, when you say raise the price, is that going to be on the different teams that come in, or different sports?
It would be on the individual sports that use the field, so softball, baseball, and lacrosse. So, what did we say, maybe, well, and we don't really know exactly what that's gonna look like, because based on what they use this year, and then how they're gonna, it's gonna be totally different, structure-wise for this next year, but based on their actual usage. So they're gonna have to decide if, two teams can share a field, or, which we always encourage, because these little people don't always need a full field when there's 10 of them on a team. You can be doing all kinds of things. But sometimes that's a philosophy difference too.
Keep up the good work out there. That's a very large asset for our city.
Absolutely, yep.
I think it's good to note another thing, like as Cindy was talking about, so the past way this is done, it was just one big lump sum, and those fields were just dedicated. this does allow those teams to say, we're not gonna use these fields as much, we can go use another field, if we want to, or however it works. So it does give them freedom to control how much use they actually have. Again, the idea is maybe more teams can practice on one field. And then it's also, I think, important to note that within the fee schedule, FLA's receiving, on average, it's gonna be like a 50% discount of what the usage would actually cost.
Okay.
So that's something that is, I think, important for this commission to note too.
Good to know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole point is to keep all those kids using those fields because people like it. It's a great park. There's flushing bathrooms, and we love that.
Reagan.
But, you know, I think, you know, it's a work in progress for sure.
Well, thank you for
At
what
least
you
you know
do.
what your costs are up front. You're not worried about this piece of equipment broke and now we gotta
Right.
replace it. Now it's
Yeah.
an added cost you didn't budget for.
Yeah, because FLA doesn't make money, right? We just
Right.
circle it around, so.
not, like Dave said,
You know
now,
what your cost is up front, right?
now he
Yeah.
just gets to worry about that, right?
Yeah.
That's Dave's problem. Thanks, Cindy. Just to brief update with the school district, part of the same agreement conversation with the field prep duties and all of that, there was the initiation to discuss with the district on that, where the district said they're not in place to provide any of those services out there. However, it's prompted just an ongoing meeting with the district. Again, we have monthly meetings discussing just overall fields within our systems, within the district systems, trying to make sure that we are offering enough fields. We did just recently send something out to FLA too. I did, of just give us how many teams you've had over the last several years, average per age group, what size field do they need, how many times are they practicing versus how many times do they want to practice. So we're doing just an overall analysis of both of our complexes, if you will, to just see where we're at. Maybe we find out that between the district and the city, we have 15 extra ball fields that we really don't need to use, and that could certainly help clean up for both of us, that we don't have to maintain these extra ball fields because they're not being used, or the exact opposite, we need more because we're short 5 fields, right? So that's been a very good ongoing conversation with the district, just, again, been a monthly ordeal. We could get some tasks, bring it back to the table and talk. So we did have another meeting with them last week, and that's an ongoing discussion. Belts Park grand reopening obviously took place. It was very successful. A lot of people showed up, had a lot of kids there, everything, great weather, so it seemed to go very well, and we've heard great things about that park and hope that it continues to be used heavily like it is. Veterans Memorial, that's something that this commission didn't spend a lot of time on, but I think you guys were just briefed on what's going on out there. That's above ground now. They're definitely coming along very quickly here. Talking about potentially pouring concrete this week yet for sidewalks.
But I've pushed to Monday because of the rain, but yeah, it's coming along pretty quick.
So things are getting buttoned back up here and in a good timely manner. So that's always nice to see that come back together. Manor Park, that construction should start very soon. I believe it was supposed to start already, but it's right around the corner. So Public Works, they definitely did a lot of work out there that saved the city money that probably would have been, I mean,
Can we just put it back into the playground? I mean, that's why we could afford the playground we got, because we did a lot of stuff in-house.
drain tile, leveling stuff off, getting the container prepped. So I mean, all that work has been done for prep. And again, that was a nice cost saving. So Public Works, gets a nice pat in the back for that. So that should be hopefully coming in really soon. Let's Go Fishing, that hasn't gone away yet. They're still plugging away. They're getting funding, which is always nice before they've ever even done anything out on the lake. So that's encouraging. Trying to finalize some details about which direction they're going to go for a boat, whether they're going to be buying a used boat from within another chapter, or if they're going to be able to get a brand new boat. That's very likely they'll be coming to a meeting to just give us an update, maybe even for an ask. But that's still chugging along too. Cub Scouts, there was, I think, 8 members that last Sunday, they came out to a few parks, I think Belts, Lakeside, and maybe Fenway as well, but they had a few of their like 8, 9-year-old members go out and clean some parks, which is always a nice thing to see them out and about. So just kind of a thanks to them, and they might be coming to the November meeting, I think, just to introduce themselves and again, just kind of give them a pat on the back for doing that. So, let's see here. Parks, everything's kind of getting ready to shut down for the season. Those parks that, don't continue on for winter use. Obviously, Belts Park, Lakeside Park. With Belts Park, will keep bathrooms, get ready for the ice rinks. Lakeside, the bathrooms will be shut down, water will be shut out. I think the irrigation was already blown out for our, I think all of them, Fenway? Just not Fenway yet. So that's coming along. Like I said, we're coming to a close in the season. Warming house positions, we have our previous staff members. They are working with our new HR specialist, I believe is her title, and she's getting the returners contracted up, and then I think we're gonna have a job posting, probably looking for at least 2 more warming house attendants, but get that word out if you know of anyone that might be interested. Looking for, kids as young as 16, ideally they can drive themselves there. But as mentioned, for the consistency of being open, the goal is to staff those 7 days a week again, and make sure that they're open and available every day. So, and then hometown holiday coming up. Obviously, we don't want to skip Halloween or Thanksgiving or anything like that, but we have our hometown holiday tree lighting event. That's Friday, December 5th. You guys are all obviously invited, and certainly there's going to be some volunteer duties, so anyone that wants to do that, let me know, but we will maybe be sending out an email shortly. We do partner with the chamber on that event, so they have a role, we have a role, but, again, we'd like to see all the commissioners down there for Friday night Christmas tree lighting, so. I think that's all I got. I might be forgetting something, I don't know. Do you have anything?
The one, just the update for cooling camp, that has been completed, the fencing project. Public Works is putting the roofs on. I believe they're just doing trim work now, so I would say by the end of this week, that should be all completed, that project. We're about $10,000 under budget. It was approved at $100,000 and we're at $90,000. We did that roof work for a lot cheaper than we thought we could do it for in-house, so save some money there. Coming up in November, Kyle presented that classification. That's going to tie into the fee schedule. We'll be looking for the Parks Commission to recommend the fee schedules. That'll be on the first meeting in November for the council meeting. So, or first meeting in December for the council meeting. So we'll need to recommend that approval for like the Arts in the Park fees. That's what will fall in for this field use schedule that he has that classification. He kind of showed that. We'll be approving or recommending approval of that fee structure. As you heard, we're working pretty well with FLA, and it's pretty close to what they paid last year, a little bit more, but that's only going off of their lump sum hours last year, so that could come down and be pretty close to that. But we're trying to find a number that works for how our fees are gonna work, and then try to not give them the off factor, but we're also taking on work. But like Cindy and Kyle both said, nobody got up and walked out of the room and said, this is ridiculous. So I think we're pretty agreeable on that.
Al's not alive.
Castlewood agreement, extension of their foursomes management, that should be coming in November for recommendation of approval for that. And then just an update on Chestnut Creek, that was at our last meeting. That went to the City Council on Monday night. City Council approved the preliminary plat for Chestnut Creek with a recommendation that the developer look into providing parkland in phase 2. No timeline on that. That was the recommendation, that the developer look into providing park dedication, some form of land for part of park. No timeline for that. That was just happened on Monday, so I don't have any updates on that, but just so this commission is aware, that's where we stand for Chestnut Creek. Abby will be sending out an email either to Kyle and then he can forward on, or just to this commission, of kind of giving the back history and to where we're at now, and that summary, that's pretty much all I know, but she'll kind of give a more in-depth of the timetable, how that went, and then possibly what to expect that going forward, but
Did the council recommendation have a minimum amount of land, or?
they did not provide any recommendation. Their recommendation was for the developer to look into providing parkland.
Okay,
And working with the residents there. Pretty clear that they were gonna have a conversation so that when and the developer would like to have everybody happy, he's gonna sell houses. And so, made it very clear to me that he's very much in favor of a park. It's just a matter of what kind, what size, all that kind of thing.
That was side talk, but the actual it was approved with a recommendation that developer look into providing parkland in phase 2.
thanks, Dave.
Yep, that's all I have for updates.
Okay,
Was there an
Parks.
update on a policy for naming buildings?
Oh,
Can't remember if it was 2
that
months ago
applicant withdrew their request for Castlewood after we had that discussion, realized that that was getting into the weeds of naming that. She asked us to provide her with the monument policy that we had just adopted earlier in the year, and she was gonna go back and talk to people to see if they wanna do something like that. So I think she was more appealing of having a monument on the building with something like that versus naming the building. So she saw the hoops that she was gonna probably have to go through and the uphill battle that I think she felt probably going that other direction.
And what
Is
did
it-
council decide on that?
Is the council, are they,
The council kind of followed her suggestion too, that they didn't wanna get into those weeds of creating that policy. So they kind of put it on the back burner and didn't say no, but really didn't want us to
kick the ball down
pursue
the road?
that very, very far.
Could I just ask Kyle for one more thing? I have had a few calls from the Arts in the Park vendors. Is their deadline already up to?
Nope, October 31st is,
Also, is that 150, I believe it is, or $250 difference? We talked about that, how much the more the vendors are gonna be asked to pay. That, it was proposed on that, has that become more than proposed now? It's going to be added to their,
so what was talked about last meeting is that we had the proposed rates in the new application. There's been no changes to those proposed rates, and again, we have to get those adopted in the fee schedule. But nothing's changed with that, so the general vendor fee stayed at $250, the food market stayed at $250 for the proposed rates. Those were an increase of $50 for the general vendor, and then an increased rate of $150 for the food vendor. But we talked about that at the last meeting, and
there's still confusion out on the vendor side of things, so.
It's proposed until our November meeting when you recommend that be the approved fee schedule, so that'll,
And they've got until what time to sign up?
October 31st, I mean, there'll be a wait list, but you can certainly tell them to give me a call, and I can
Yeah,
help walk
because
them through
if
anything.
We don't
They don't know
have,
what they're gonna be paying.
exactly, you don't have a late sign, or last sign up for them, and then they know how much they pay in November?
Yep, so what's gonna happen is once those fees get approved or finalized, once we're selecting the applicants, the approved vendors, they'll get noticed of all that. And at that time, they don't have to, they can back out if they want.
Okay.
all right. Commissioner updates, any updates? Aaron?
Updates from my part.
Karen?
Sorry, that should have been my update.
No, so sorry, that's all good.
I have one more thing to add, is the Arts in the Park was nominated for the Community Event of the Year, I believe, within the chamber. So that's something that's kind of a nice plus too. So, to see that event get nominated for that.
Thanks, Gals. Sue, anything?
Nothing.
All right, well, it looks like we're ready to adjourn. Somebody want to make a motion?
So moved.
Karen move,
I'll second.
Aaron second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That passes. We're adjourned.